Well, folks, you're very, very welcome along this Monday night for the TTM show. And our special guest this week, who's joining Kevin Kelly, Damien Harvey, myself, is almost an endless star, Joe McMahon. Joe, good to have you with us. You're very, very welcome to the TTM Monday Night Show.
You know,
of course, you're no stranger to this particular form of broadcasting. You've worked with us a few times in the past, and then deserted us and moved on to bigger things, if I remember.
It's always good to have a sideways view, you boys, not a front-on one.
We're not any slimmer looking, Joe.
I'm looking for your better side here at the minute.
No, you may look somewhere else.
Hey, Joe, good to have you with us. And as I say, we have plenty to get through tonight. We'll have a chat with you, obviously, about how things are going presently, or how you see things developing from the present position. And we will have a bit of a quiz thing. We had a quiz last night. Damien, how many entries did we have last night for the quiz?
We had exactly 500 last night. 23 people got it correct. Got the 10 out of 10. There's a bit of fun over some of the answers now. And a few boys given out, of course. But sure, that's part of the crack now.
Mm-hmm. I noticed Aidan Harkin had one or two tweets later on. One involving the balaclava. Now, I know James McLean did something similar and got fined heavily. So I think it's going to be right. Joe, what do you reckon that we should fine Aidan Harkin?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
Where would you find him?
Where would you find him is right. That was a problem back in the day. Aidan Harkin, where could you find him? But anyway, we will come back to that, Damien. Or do you want to start with the answers from last night's quiz, maybe?
Well, I can start with the answers from last night. So the first one was name the Tyrone referee who blew the final whistle running into the tunnel in the All-Ireland final as Dublin supporters invaded the pitch. Joe, would you have an idea who that might be? I'll give you a choice of answers, maybe.
Was it Paddy Devlin?
Yeah, it's Paddy Devlin. You don't need a choice of answers.
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly went through all the answers what Joe before we started.
We'll see how Joe gets on without even giving him the options here tonight. Peter Canavan scored all but one point in the 1985 All-Ireland final, but who scored the other point?
Jody Gormley.
That's 2 out of 2. No problem to himself.
Hey, Joe's probably on that list of 23 that got them all right.
It sounds like it. What was notable about the shot taken by Offaly's Peter Cunningham at Croke Park in 2013? Do you want a few choices?
Go on ahead.
You need to give the options for that one, Damien.
Give me the options for that one. So was it Hawkeye's first disallowed point? Did it hit both posts before going over the bar, or did he score for Kildare?
Oh, Hawkeye, was it?
It was Hawkeye's first disallowed point. That's right.
So,
first Tyrone players missing from this list: Eugene McKenna, Peter Canavan, Brian Dooher, Matty Donnelly.
Tyrone captains?
Yeah, in where?
Oh.
In All-Ireland finals. So who's missing you?
Sean Kavanagh in All-Ireland finals?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's wrong. Don't be giving us.
What was it?
No, Kieran Corr.
Kieran Corr. No, wouldn't have got that. Kieran.
So how many different counties have Tyrone beaten in an Ulster final to?
8.
You reckon they're beating them all?
No, well, you part themselves. No, 7.
7.
They haven't beat Fermanagh.
They haven't beat Fermanagh, is right, Joe? Good man.
Joe, you should be saying, Joe, they haven't beat us.
He's become an expert in all things Fermanagh. We've only let him out for a year. Name the Tyrone player who won National All-Stars in 3 different lanes on the field. Was it Sean Kavanagh, Conor Gormley, Eugene McKenna, or Peter Canavan?
Sean?
No, it was Eugene McKenna.
Oh.
Which team now playing junior football did Carrickmore beat to complete the 3 in a row of senior titles?
Drumquin?
Fintona.
Fintona?
Yeah. In which mountains are the All Ireland Puck Fada held?
Spairns.
Killian. And the second last one. Which Ulster county are the current holders of the Tommy Murphy Cup? Antrim, Cavan, Derry, or Fermanagh?
The Derry.
A bit delighted to hear that across in Derry at the minute now. It's Antrim.
Antrim.
And finally, in which All Ireland final were two national anthems played? Was it 1905, 47, 58, or 84?
Yes. If you boys are asking this question, the dates would be relevant. 80. What did you say the last one?
84.
84.
What two national anthems would there have been two in 84? No, not fair. Not a fair question. 1947, Joe. It was in the Polo Grounds in New York. So the American national anthem.
Yes. Well, there you go.
So there you go. All right. What do you know?
47.
Well, what did he end up with? Just out of interest.
What did he end up with? I wasn't even.
I think you got the first three right, Noah.
Should have stopped after that.
We'll have to review the tip.
You're obviously furloughed at the minute in terms of work and in terms of training and so on. At this stage, are you confined to the house? And is the house the holiday home in Clogher, or is it the one that's in Cavan Parish?
Yeah, it's the one in just outside Omagh there. We've been in 3 weeks now, to be honest with you. Getting our walks out and about. 3 kids now. It's in fairness, they've been great. Been out on the bikes and walking about as much as we can and when we can. And certainly the homeschooling seems to be a lot of parents are getting their eyes open to the profession of teachers and what work has to be done and the patience that's certainly required from that. And maybe after all of this, they'll support a bit of a pay increase.
Kevin shaking his head as speaking. He obviously doesn't as any big threat, but I've seen 1 or 2 tweets and 1 or 2 people's comments about the challenges they face when dealing with their own children, and they suddenly realise that they're not the little darlings possibly.
Oh, it's a good eye opener, and when you have 30 little darlings in your classroom, you certainly understand the challenges that are there. But despite all of that, now it's good to spend a bit of time with the family because I know my kids have let me know at stages saying, and asking why I'm not heading out to football at the early stages of quarantine and why I'm around so much. But now they're quickly realising the extent of everything around, and it's great to spend the time with them and get out and playing and reliving my own youth as well.
I suppose the children was brilliant to have you there about the house when you normally wouldn't, but after 3 weeks you were in there, they're probably thinking, it's quite good when Mummy was there in her own way.
I'm just thinking how she managed without me now, and how she's going to manage when it all starts up again. But no.
Yeah. Well, we wish her well in that, and I'm sure nobody's journey should have straightforward, But Joe, I suppose in fairness, if we start first with the county scene, obviously Fermanagh, Fermanagh's situation wasn't looking particularly prosperous, shall we say, before the premature end of the league. No,
it definitely wasn't. The league form and where we were sitting in the league certainly highlights. Maybe it just highlighted our performances in games where maybe come up short. In particular, Westmeath, we felt we'd left that game behind, and if I had got that result, it might have been a different story. But unfortunately, we'd lost that game, and then Armagh had beaten us quite convincingly. And it's a young team. There are players there with experience, and we're trying to maybe play a more open style, expansive style of football. And it's something that's going to take a bit of time to work on. And with that bit of time, it has cost us, or did cost us in the league in games, and that's part of the experience. Things aren't going to work out straight away for us. There's a lot for us to work on. But the lads are working hard, and they know themselves where they're at and what they have to do to get to the level that we would like to get ourselves to.
Yeah, just thinking there, Kevin, it's a slightly different thing, but even with the club, same thing. Is there a situation, Kevin, you sit down with, and Joe mentioned there about style of play and the conscious decision taken to possibly change or address that? But is that the sort of thing that you sit down, Kevin, and collectively take the decision, or is it one man decides this is the way it's going to be and everybody else buys in?
Oh well, it's like everything else. You have to come on at the point of the whole thing. The manager, and in our club is John Moylan, and he's a backroom. I think there's 6 or 7 of us now this time around this year. So it's the same thing. You do your training, whatever, when the training was going, and you play a certain style, or you need a couple of styles, I suppose, nowadays. Like, when you're playing the really, really top teams, you just can't go gung-ho, because it happened to us before. I remember a few years ago playing Clonaux in a Division 1 game up in Galway, and we decided to go man for man, and they scored 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. And really, that was, instead of shutting up shop, to try and stay in the game. So, look, there's different games, there's horses for courses, but look, I suppose at the end of the day, everybody has an input into what way you'd like to play, but the buck stops with the manager. But to be honest with you, I haven't been, from this whole shutdown, which is like 3 weeks now, I haven't even been talking to John.
Joe, just in your case, obviously, Ricey is the man. Is it, was it him decided, listen, this is the way it's going to be, this is the way we're going to change? Or was it something he sat down and said, here, listen, it's okay defending, but we've got to outscore the opposition?
No, it was definitely something myself, Ryan, and Paul McGivern spoke about. Initially, when Ryan did approach me to come on board, it was definitely something that I did talk to him about, because I think it's important. I know probably recognised himself in the past that whilst Fermanagh had got themselves to an Ulster final playing the way they had done, you can't expect to progress and improve if you're going to continue that game plan, because we can see almost with all teams that have been playing this system that it's almost coming full circle again, because we've seen how Dublin have come along and dismantled teams, and no better team than Tyrone in the way that they'd set up, and how they're able to dismantle them and pick them off and get the scores. And you can see teams starting to come out now and play a bit more expansive football, and it has its rewards, and it's a fine line. There is a balance there that you need to bring with that, as Kevin has alluded to already, and that's something that we are going to be bringing to our game without a doubt. And you can see many other teams as well, and we have the quality to do that throughout the team.
But at the same time, you have to be realistic and say we've got to play the hand we're dealt. And Dublin have resources that maybe with the exception of Kerry, very few other teams can match. And if Fermanagh were to play Dublin next week, and you decide to go out gung ho, go man to man, well, there's only going to be one result, and it's going to be a hugely embarrassing defeat. So being realistic, you do have to be cognizant of the fact that this is the resource we have, and we've had to play to our strengths.
Well, absolutely, and as a player, I think the important thing to recognise as a player, if you're coming into a setup and you know that you're going to be coming in and the opportunity to play football, and not coming in and playing a defensive system, what chance have forwards got to excel? And especially when you have a young team coming in and they know that they will respond to the system, that you're more expansive style of football that you're trying to play. And certainly, probably Dublin are the exception there, and I did mention them, but with reference to Tyrone, who are the best defensive team, and have proved that in the past. But I think from Fermanagh's point of view, that they're able to get a balance between that defensive setup and the transition, getting them up and the scores on the board. And with the young lads that have come up in from St Michael's, and with the local clubs as well, they are responding, and that's something that they want to do, and something that we want to bring forward, because we know the quality and the talent is there.
We mentioned Ricey, Damien. Of course, we know Ricey. He's done bits and pieces with us in the past, and I suppose he has certain experience. But Damien, he brings people sometimes look at him and think of Racey the player in terms of the manager. Is that maybe unfair to me? Do you think?
Well, I think people look at him as a player, and there's no doubt he played on the edge when he was playing with Tyrone, and you might make the same remark in terms of his management as well. I saw him down last year. We were down in Enniskillen last year, and we saw him on the line, and he was right on the edge of some of the runs that he was making onto the field in terms of assistant managers and so on, and our assistant players on the pitch. But there's no doubt that he brings a wealth of experience, and he can back it up. And that's the one thing. It's all right being seen as somebody who plays on the edge if he can't back it up, but he was able to back it up as a player, and there's no doubt he brings a wealth of knowledge into that management role. I'm sure he has sat and studied the various managers that he's worked under, including yourself, Noel, and I'm sure he will be imparting all that knowledge on the players that are on the field. And if he hasn't got anything else, he's got serious respect of the players, and he's got a serious knowledge with him as well. And that's of course backed up by Joe as well.
Joe, what's he like I mean, I know what he's like in the change room when I managed him, and in fairness, he was a fabulous role model, a great example to all the lads in Dromore in terms of what he brought. But in terms of management, what's he like? Is he quiet, methodical thinker, planner, and then doer, or is he sort of rip roaring and up and at him?
He's very deep in his thinking and how he wants to see things played out. He has a great relationship with the players, and that respect is there, as Damon has mentioned, and the players respond to that. I think the important thing this year was that rapport had been built up, and there was a good continuity from previous years, and it made it comfortable for myself and Paul for ourselves coming into the setup, because Ricey knew the dynamics. He knew what was going on within the squad and the improvements that had to be made, and that ability to read a situation from his own point of view, standing on the sidelines talking with him. He's very good at reading the game and making the calls and the decisions. And it's for myself personally, it's new to myself coming in at this level. I always think now, I always remember people saying that it's easier being a player, and I can certainly identify with that, because you're only yourself to look after. Whereas now in coaching and management, you have 35, 40 others to look out for. And that planning in between times, between your video work, planning your sessions, it's pretty much full on, and Ricey is very well organised from that point of view.
But I mean, you yourself, obviously, as a manager last year with Clogher, Damien and I were up watching the Clogher league fixture, Damien, and we reckon that Joe was the best player in the field that day.
There's no doubt Noel he could still do a job around centre half back, and he was doing it that day for Clogher.
Maybe it might be something that you could. I know you've been known to enter the field to play yourself, but I mean, Joe was particularly not vocal, but let's say creative in his use of space and covering runs. When the centre half back was out of position, Joe just happened to plant himself in that position. Brilliantly done, I have to say. And Martin Snudden was there every time he went past Martin. We tap on the back, Martin, everything's going well. Great learner.
Well, you learn from managers that you've seen in the past, maybe. In particular, there was one manager for Dromore, I remember, went far from the action himself now. But no, definitely, it's last year. I know that game was hot and heavy at times, a good derby fixture, and you do have to stand back and control yourself a bit more. There are times where you encroach on the pitch, and that's maybe to get a message across, or you almost feel that you want to be out there. Although if any play does happen to come down our side of the pitch and I'm near the sideline, I tend to step back, unlike the Cookstown men who like to step into any players coming down their line.
Kevin, do you want to pick up on that one?
I would have absolutely no further comment to make there. I think I don't know where Joe's coming from, but maybe young Harvey would like to comment on that. But if somebody is along the line, I would be very respectful of the white line, and would always stay behind it.
It's an interesting one.
I think as Owen Mulligan will tell you himself, Noel, that was a case of mistaken identity.
No doubt about it. But I thought maybe that all joking aside, Joe, the challenge of club management, and as you say, you have 35 or 40 players and 2 teams possibly with the reserves and everything else. It is a serious commitment, and you notice, as I say, on the line, you find yourself involved in situations that where you playing you would never be involved in, but it's quite easy to see why you get the dander up, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely, and I would from a player's or a coach's point of view, maybe you are the eyes and ears, and you see things developing, and you're almost taking that chance that you're stepping in there and you're making the calls, and you can see plays maybe unfolding from the opposition's point of view, and you want to get talking or the message through across to your players and how to set up, and however you do that, that's however you can work the game yourself. But I think in relation to your setup with club and county, the big thing about the county setup is when the fixtures are coming, everything is laid out, you can plan your season, whereas a club coach or manager, it's quite difficult because you're setting up for the club football in April. Thereafter, then you have your games coming every so often, and obviously that a lot of talk has been around the setup and around the summertime and the lack of games and how to plan your season, and you're almost going back into pre-season again to get built up for August, September time for championship. And that's something that was challenging last year, because I think we went 9 weeks without a game with Clogher, which was with a good start that they had at the beginning of the year, certainly set themselves up for the end of the season. But hopefully with maybe looking at next year more so than this year, that won't happen again as it has done in the past.
But I suppose the thing is, and I'm sure we'll find the same thing, momentum, Kevin. Like Joe alluded to there, when you have 9 weeks without it, if you have a run going and you're winning games, the last thing you want is a break to that, and suddenly you find yourself up kicking your heels, not knowing what's going to happen and not knowing the length of the break, so to speak.
Well, that's it. Like we from our point of view, we'd looked like last year. We were keen to get back, stay back up at the first time of asking, and would looked into what had happened the year before with various clubs. With Tyrone more or less nearly guaranteed every year to be in the Super 8, and there's going to be that break. And would looked at teams the way the likes of Agnes there, for instance, had won the league, but they looked a tired team when they come to the championship, and the same could be said. I think it was same could be said of Clogher. Clogher had more or less the League One, I think, before the July break, and they were beating the championship up, and they beat by Newton Stewart, I think it was, up in Killyclogher. And just a Newton Stewart team that maybe had themselves relying in the long grass, so to speak, waiting, praying for the championship. So, in fairness to John and Paul O'Hagan, last year we got it right. We went full throttle at the league at the start, and then we wound down. There's nearly 2 seasons rolled into one, but we were able to get the lads peaked again to come again for the championship, and thank God it worked out. But it is a difficult balancing act, because if you don't get it right, you could just end up with egg on your face. And although I think the way things going this year, hopefully, I think there will be football, please God, and. But I think if there is football this season on a club level, it'll just be coming bang, bang, bang. And I don't think, although we're only 3 weeks into lockdown, but I don't think if anybody was faced with that possibility, I don't think there'd be anybody complaining that the games are coming thick and fast. The
2 seasons, Joe, I suppose, is one of those situations that there's very little that you can do about it, and you just have to make the best of it. But I suppose for a team like Clogher who are coming up from junior, it's about establishing themselves as much as anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, well, our target was to hit the ground running, and that's what we had to do. I think we'd won our first 5 games, and then we met Galway, and that was a lesson in itself that day. Going into the game, we probably felt, listen, we've nothing to lose here. We'll just go man for man, and back to what we talked about earlier, we didn't really play our opposition. We felt we had the momentum. the confidence was up. We thought we would go at it, and we were taught a lesson that day, and that was the golfing class. And a bit of a reality check for the Clogher lads, and they quickly realised what it was going to take to continue on, and if they wanted to push on to the top level. And it was a good experience for them. But following on from that, then the remainder of the year, they sort of picked up points here and there, and ended up making the playoffs, and maybe unlucky. But I think they were happy with the season that they come away with, and we'll look to build on that for this year.
Yeah. Well, listen, looking back at now to look at the county again. I suppose Fermanagh obviously have a different set of or a different situation to Tyrone in terms, first of all, number of clubs and possibly quality of players. So when you're looking, do you find yourself sometimes, Joe, subconsciously thinking, God, I know that certain Tyrone players could do this, that, and the other, or would you sometimes find yourself subconsciously comparing the Fermanagh players to the guys on the Tyrone panel?
Well, I suppose you're always comparing them to other players in other counties, because if Fermanagh want to dine at the top table in Ulster, that's the type of teams that are going to be coming up against, Tyrone in particular. And you look around and for the Fermanagh squad, and as I mentioned to you before, there is a lot of quality there. There's a lot of experience as well, and it's just getting them to buy into what we're trying to bring to the setup. And as you mentioned, Tyrone have quality players, Donegal have quality players, all other teams have quality players. And whilst the quality may be there, it's trying to get the mix between using that quality that you have, getting a system of play and a group of players to buy into that. And as back to what we mentioned earlier, getting that momentum. Whilst we didn't have it in the league, how things may develop with the championship football this year, with no league finishing out, possibility of a championship knockout or however that might come. If you get a win, the confidence is back, and who knows what could come from there.
Yeah, funny, Kevin and I were chatting about this the other day about the so-called weaker counties. Those players work every bit as hard. They make all the same sacrifices as the Dublins, the Kerrys, the Tyrone, the Mayos, and so on, and the Donegals. But yet in all, they can find themselves dumped out after before the end of June, and the season's more or less over for them. And they never really get a chance, as you say, to dine at the top table. With that in mind, and considering the fact that they work so hard, is the second tier a good option, or do you think is it going to work, or is it going to be end up like a Tommy Murphy Cup situation?
Well, the talks about it's something that you would like to hear more from the players' point of view. It seemed to be something that was rushed through, and the feedback, maybe the overall feedback from players was that they were happy to continue to compete for the Sam Maguire and play it out as before. But I think in a way you have to look at it that this is a competition that they're trying to bring in to play at the level that you're competing at, and if you're good enough, then you can push on. You have the opportunity to push on and play the Tier 1 championship, but the Tier 2 is almost a fallback for those so-called weaker counties. And I think there's a lot of thought that they could be forgotten about. There's less interest in it, and it takes away from all their hard work, as you mentioned about, and they bring. And I think for me, whilst you have the setup of the Tier 1 presently, it is an opportunity for teams to develop if they don't proceed or progress in their respective Tier 1 championship. So say, for example, you go out in Division 1, your first game, and you're beaten, then you're back into your Tier 2 championship based on your league finish. And in a way, you have to be realistic of where you are and what you need to do to get to the level that has to be. And it is an opportunity to develop a team at that level.
Should it be seen like that, Kevin? Should it be seen as an opportunity to develop those teams, or should it be just, as some people maybe have already dismissed it, without giving it an opportunity or a chance to? I'll be interested to hear Damien's view of that. A chance to actually see how it plays out.
Well, I think as Joe said there, I think the most important mixture in this whole thing is the players themselves. I think the players have to, you mentioned there, every player that trains at club level deserves the same respect as everybody else, and even more so at county level. The so-called weaker counties put in the same effort, they do the same training, never going to get the same rewards, but I'm sure they put in as many training sessions before the championship starts. So really, I think it's unfair to maybe push that championship in on top of players that maybe would rather. You asked anybody in Fermanagh or Carlow, I'm not just picking those two counties out, but any of the them counties, and asked them would they rather be playing against the likes of Dublins or the Kerrys or the Galways or Tyrones of this world. And I'm sure most of them would say they would, because there's a feeling too like the only way you're going to improve is to be playing against better quality teams, and it's hard to know how just it would come around to get it. There has to be, if you are going to bring it in, obviously there has to be a card dangling there too, that to get into the so-called bigger championship. But again, it maybe it could dilute like a player. Players just mightn't be prepared to put in as much effort if they thought they were going into a two-tier competition as they would the top-tier competition.
Now, Damien, see your mic's off there. Maybe if you could, are you with us?
Yep.
Okay, your view on that tier 2, are you a fan, or is it something that should be trialled and a decision taken from an informed point of view rather than just dismissing it out of hand?
I'm not really a fan of it, no, but if we're going to do something with it, I think from a promotional perspective, they need to really get their thinking hats on and make a job of it. If it's now over the line anyway, so it is going to happen. And you have to think about how best to promote it. Is that going to be play the games every Saturday evening or something, give them live TV, small venues, big crowds, I hope for the best. But again, it's how they set it up and how they promote it. They've got a big task at hand now, because we don't really, I can't see how they're going to get through the remainder of this season in the same format as it's set out for. So I think, logistically, I think they should set everything to the side for this year, go with whatever championship format they're going to go with last year, similar to last year, and worry about all that 12 months down the line. It'll hopefully give them a chance to work out, as I say, how to promote it better, because I don't think Croke Park fully grasped that wee bit yet. That they went with the second cup. They've given it a name now, but had they got a promotional program behind it? Did they know what they were going to do with it? Was it just going to disappear? Was the media rights ever sorted out? I'm not sure that's all sorted out in the background either. So there's a whole lot of reasons that it's almost. It's a good job it didn't go ahead this year, because I'm not sure that was fully factored in.
Joe, obviously the other part of it is the demands on the players, and then the club situation as well, because when you going and the club's still mad to get involved and get their seasons up and running, that's going to impact that as well.
It is, and that has been the challenge, not just ahead of us in the past. And I know there has been a lot of discussion. To me, the best football played in the year is the National League, because you can see that each team is pitched against each other at the level that they're fit to play at, and it makes for very entertaining games. The possibility maybe of pulling that competition back, getting rid of your pre-season competitions, starting those earlier, and sort of drawing your season back a bit more, that allow more time for the club football. And the Tier 2 Championship, I suppose, to me, you've got an opportunity to stay in the level that you're playing at, first of all, in your leagues. You have the chance to promote if you're good enough and get up to the next tier. The next stage then is in your respective championships, your Ulster Province Championship, and being able to progress there. I think as if you get to the final, then you're into the Tier 1, the Super 8s. or an opportunity to get there. So there's ample opportunities to get into those competitions if you're good enough, and if you're not, then the fallback is Tier 2, and ultimately those players want to be playing. And I know you're talking about playing at Tier 2, and it's maybe not the level that would be to Tier 1 and the coverage, and I appreciate all of that, and that's an important part of it. But the lads, imagine you as a player putting all that effort in from November, October time, and your football is completely finished at the end of May, start of June.
Yeah,
say again, sorry?
Beggars belief to think that, like.
Yeah, and I think that's something that as a player you want to continue playing at the height of the summer, and whether that is at the Tier 1 or Tier 2, that obviously that's whatever that goes for the team. But I think that's another discussion as well into your club and your county. And for me, if you draw the National League back and draw your championship back and allow more time for club championship, because you look back at 2017, I mentioned before, I think we'd won it in 23 days, which was absolute disrespect to the Tyrone Championship in general, and I'm sure we're not the only ones as well. And certainly with Tyrone, you would hope every year they're going to be knocking on the door come October or August, September time, and that's something that needs to be looked at.
Well, come here, listen, you mentioned there about McKenna Cup and the pre-season and maybe wanting to replace those. Just from your own point of view, you played 1 or 2 McKenna Cup finals.
1 or 2, no, I think
I remember Omagh, where a guy asked you a question, was that the coldest place? And your answer certainly stirred 1 or 2 people about Greencastle, if I remember right. But
I did.
You have competed in the McKenna Cup, and you do have among your collection of awards and honours, I'm sure, a prominent place has been found for those Hall and McKenna Cup medals.
Well, listen, I think the McKenna Cup, I know it probably it deserves it has deserved its place as a competition to sort of set your season up, that pre-season competition. And is it a possibility of pulling it back to December time into early January and then starting your National League a bit earlier? But I know you have to factor in your college's football, your school's football, and there is a lot there, but there's plenty of discussions around that also.
But yeah, fair to say, especially the colleges. I mean, the colleges have serious pick in terms of the numbers of players, the quality of the player, and everything else. There's no reason why players who commit to colleges, say for example during the National League, then they can give the National League a bye ball off. They go and play colleges football and be done with it.
There's as Joe said there, there's just that much football, and it's just hard to squeeze it all into the one calendar year. Or you talk about the elite players, the players that, say for instance, are playing Sigerson football and they're involved with their county teams, or some of them maybe even involved at clubs, maybe in All-Ireland series and that there. And it's that peaking thing, the club season now, All-Ireland finals are in January, so club players any players at the very top of club football are coming into January trying to win All-Ireland titles, and then they have to go again, they have to peak again, and you're just wondering what it's doing to their bodies, because a really top players maybe chasing an All-Ireland club senior medal or an intermediate medal for that instance, or a junior, will be playing an All-Ireland final maybe in January, and then they're going to start the Sigerson football comes in there, there's National League football comes in there, then there's Championship football. It's just very hard to see where we're going to get the happy medium between all this football. I think Joe's idea there of bringing the county season forward is a very good idea, because again, I think it's the club league under normal circumstances. This time you probably would have a few games played at this stage. The idea, I think, was to have 5 or 6 games played by the end of April. There's a chance you're going to have 2/3 of the Division 1, 2 and 3 campaigns cleared up by the end of May. And then, it takes, I think somebody said last year, it took 2 months or whatever to play 2/3 of the league, and it took another 5 months to play the last third. So it's not an ideal scenario. It seems, and I'm sure Joe has seen it from both sides there, being a brilliant county player and an unbelievable club player. But he can probably see it there now from he retired too, after a great career with Tyrone, to win an O'Neill Cup with St Andrews there in 2017. And as he mentioned there, winning it inside 23 days, I think the club's just has continued to being pushed and pushed and pushed. I know last year ourselves, and it was an unbelievable season, and you wouldn't swap it for anything. But a week after being beaten, we were asked. There was under 21 semi-final was played in the second week of December, and I think it's just it's just asking too much of players, and it'll just be interesting to see what happens, Noel, if indeed I just put that to Joe, if there is going to be football this year, and hopefully there will, would he be in favour of a straight knockout in the inter-county scene?
There you are, Joe. Beat down and on you go.
It's as time moves on, it's looking more and more likely, but it would be very interesting, without a doubt. How would they do that? I don't know. Is it something they're going to look at and seed teams going by their divisions, their current divisional status? I don't know, but that Champions League style format would definitely make for a very exciting games, very exciting setup. And I think the time frame that you would have there also, if you're looking maybe this to start in June, July time, you're going to have a feast of sport, and it would certainly be massive in bringing the people out again if it's safe, and being able to come out and spectate, and there would be serious excitement to it. And I think it would be a great idea. Whether it comes to pass is another thing.
Well, I suppose one of the big challenges, Damien, and you would know this from your time and working as a PRO and involved in the county board, that it would mean that all this has to be planned for, has to be thought about, has to be organised. And at present, if the powers that be in Croke Park made it known that this was something they were looking at to do, it may not be too well received by counties because it has never been discussed by them before.
That's true. There's I think, precedents and everything else can be left aside in this scenario, Noel. And I would say it's something that's probably already on the table. I know that the Croke Park have been talking to the chairman over the last few weeks, and on various conference calls and everything else. I would say those discussions are bound to have been begun, I would have thought, as to what the future holds for this year. Blitz style tournament in Croke Park over 2 weekends, 9 games a day. I don't know. I don't know how you work it out. It's going to be crazy stuff. But
Noel, that would be very sure in your credit card, Noel.
It'd be very sure on his backside having to sit for them all through every one of them. No, I don't know. It's just look. I think I don't know how they're going to get beyond a straight knockout competition if it's played this year at all.
Yeah.
I think personally, obviously there's more important things going on in the world at the minute than football, but I think if it does come back, and I really do think it will be, hopefully will be back by July time, but I think, the GAA are going to have to take a hit this year, and that could mean running off your provincial championships, the first round in all 4 provinces over the first weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And I know that's not what they like, doing it, but I don't think it's like years gone by. If you look at that, go way back to that 94, where Derry, the reigning All-Ireland champions, played down in the first round of Ulster, and it was a massive game, and it was showed live on BBC. I think it was the first game that was screened live before it was an Ulster final, even screened live. But I think the days of neutrals going to the other county championship matches, unless it's a really, really big draw first round, I think them days are gone. And I think the way, we're only, as I say, 3 weeks into this isolation, but if you take 3 months down the line and we still have no football, I think if people would be happy enough if the provinces would run off in that way. For instance, 2 quarterfinals on a Saturday, 2 quarterfinals on a Sunday. After one weekend, you've the semi-finalists in all 4 provinces, and it can be done. And but it would take an awful, as Damien mentioned there, but it is a set of unusual circumstances. And perhaps the teams that are beaten on the first weekend, if they have got time for it, you can play the qualifiers the same weekend as the provincial semi-finals. I know this sounds mad, but it's like everything else. It's a feast or famine, and the alternative is just to have no football at all. And I don't think, even for people's, I know we are mad about football, but even for their own sanity, I think people need to get out to sport again and out to doing the things that they love doing.
I'm just worried about the first game back. No, I'm really worried about the first game back, because can you imagine the crowd that's going to be at the under-14 match in Greencastle the first night or so?
Absolutely, no question about it. And funny, I read a tweet there, a couple of tweets earlier, but it does not matter what it is, be it a grade 4 on the 14 reserve game, whatever, they'll be there to see it, because people say, Kevin, they're all mad about football. But just go back to your point there about all the games. Of course, one of the big issues, and some people don't pay particular attention to it, but it's the gate men, and trying to get all the gate men and all the stewards to cover all these games. It's just not about turning up on the day, and I think that's one of the big... Right, Kevin?
Free.
Right. Well, again, you said about financially challenged. There's no doubt about it that the counties have suffered as a result of that.
Yeah.
I want to go back, if possible. Just you mentioned there about maybe starting the National League a wee bit earlier, but when you consider the quality of the games and the pairings, and particularly Division 1, Division 2, right? I mean, you come up against Fermanagh, Tyrone played Kerry and Dublin this year. Those are some of the top games that you can get, and playing them. I mean, and this is no disrespect to, but you generally in January, February time, the weather is far from complimentary towards good, skillful football. And I mean, the night that Tyrone played Dublin, the day they played Kerry, two difficult sets of conditions. If you're bringing your best games and playing them in the depth of the winter, it's not a great advert for your product.
No, definitely not at that level, and you appreciate that. But when we're trying to accommodate club football and looking at the setup there, I mean, I know as a playing for county, you're probably just wrapped in your own bubble, and it was Club Tyrone for so long, and you're almost dismissive of club football because you weren't there. But having experienced it now from a club footballer at the tail end of my career more so, and in terms of coaching, I think it's unfair to club players. And we've talked about the Tier 2 Championship and whether players will stick around and maybe head off and to America or play elsewhere. It's a wonder more club players haven't done so, and they could have done it, went away, played football in America and still come back and played for their clubs, because the gap was that wide. And listen, as I said to you before, the National League to me is the best competition, because you are sitting in front of your TV or going to the games. You know that you're getting two teams that are well pitched against each other, and they're going to go for it because they know what's at stake, especially with the level that they're playing at, and they want to continue to play at that level. And compare that to the summertime, the height of the summer, where you're going to get a game where the likes of Dublin, no disrespect, playing against Louth, it's just a formality, and you know what you're going to get there. And it's not until the tail end, until the August, September time, that you're maybe going to see higher quality football.
Alan mentioned one day we were chatting about the league fixtures, and he was on about the quality of the games that were still to come, and the fact that Division 1 in the National League you had a series of or groups of teams, and every one of the teams, Tyrone was sitting there, and if the results went wrong, the last two results, Tyrone had a chance. If they went right, there's a chance to qualify for the league final. If they went wrong, there's a chance to keep you relegated. It was a really, it tells you an awful lot about the quality of the opposition, and it tells you something about the competition itself.
It does, and you need to be at your game every week. You can't afford to go into a game thinking, this is going to be a handier option here. I can sit back, I can go a bit easier at this, keeping an eye on the game the following weekend. And that's what makes it so competitive, is the quality. You're playing against the top teams throughout the whole of Ireland, and that's what the spectators want to see. And whilst we've seen that not to the extent maybe that they'd hoped for in the Super 8s, there's been a few games that have been dead in their feet because teams have qualified. In particular, you look at Tyrone and Dublin, who had qualified and played a game at Healy Park, which really meant nothing. And you could see what they were trying to achieve with the Super 8s, and it certainly has that potential. But I think, to me, and learning from Division 2 also, the teams are well matched with each other, and it's exciting football. And maybe is it something they could take forward in terms of the setup as a whole, and you're going to have the teams continually playing against each other at that level.
Well, listen,
maybe even sorry. No, perhaps even I think you could, as Joe said there, you could maybe align the league and the championship more together. I think, for instance, here we have another competitive Division 1 there, and that's the way it seems it's going to be every year. All the top teams are there, and that's where Fermanagh and them all teams all strive to be there. And why not keep your provincial championships? I don't know what the makeup of it would be, but say, for instance, your top 4 in Division 1, they enter the All Ireland series at a different. Make the league where the top 4 teams, say in Division 1, enter the championship in the second round or the third round, and that's the goal. You have to get into the top 4. You could also include the top 2 in Division 2 for getting into that next round, and the winners of Division 3, Division 4, whatever it is. And it makes the league. It keeps the league and the championship closer together. If you know what I mean.
And there's an incentive to finish in a decent position. It also makes the last games of the league competitive, Kevin, because if you're sitting in your 5th position in Division 1 and knowing that if you win your last match, there's no such thing as a dead rubber as such.
Well, it's a chance. The leagues are always ended in April. So if you say, for instance, if you're in Division 1 and you're going into the last game and you can't make a league final and you're safe, well, you could drop out of the top 4, and just something like that there, with the top 4 teams in Division 1 miss the first 2 rounds of qualifiers or something like that, and equally bring in your top 2 teams in Division 2, whatever it is, or your Division 3 winners, give them all an incentive to make the league even more competitive, and give them an entry into the championship further down the line, another incentive.
Well, Damien, the next time you're going to Croke Park, take Kevin with you, and that. If nothing else,
I know, Damien, you were at Croke Park a couple of times there. I don't know if you'd ever had Joe with you there, defend him.
No. Joe was well behaved. I had to bring boys like Gormley with me. Boys like that.
I knew Joe. I knew Joe was always, he was always there on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Funny thing was, I saw him a few times down the tunnel in Donegal, and the clock is beating us. There's a lot of stuff I want to get through, so we're going to be back on another night. So we'll wait maybe further down the line, and we'll get you back on. So don't move anywhere a minute. Damien, you have a few questions for him, have you?
I will, as you know, all of these this quarantine period we're in, we have a wee quiz at the end of every night for the special guests. So your target, Joe, tonight is Niall Morgan, who's sitting with 6 out of 10. Okay. Chris Roth, he had 5 out of 10 last week. But so if you're ready, if you're relaxed, we're ready to go there. Of question number 1. If you don't get the answer, it passes over to Kevin Kelly, and as I said, he makes it really.
No, I don't. Joe, Chris Rafferty, and I
all the answers. Right, number 1. Who won the 1999 All Ireland football final, Joe?
Oh, I need to. Was it Kerry 99? No, it wasn't.
Fortunately not. I'm going to pass over to Kevin.
Meath.
Galway 98. Meath.
Meath is right, Kevin.
Beat Armagh. Should never beat Armagh.
Meath took how many games to beat Dublin, Joe, in 1991?
3.
Kevin.
4.
4 is right, Kevin.
Joe, just look.
Joe, just want to let you know it's 0 from 2 there, Joe. We need to tighten up here a bit.
No pressure, Joe.
Yeah, get this one here. Get this one here.
Bad signal here. What's up?
They're cutting up there.
Number 3. Which former Galway manager won an All Ireland in 1993 wearing the number 4 jersey?
Sorry, give us that, Damien.
Was he a Galway manager?
No,
He wasn't.
no.
No.
That's a
Who
technicality. You'd have to give him.
wore number 4 for Derry, Joe, in 1983? We'll give you that one.
Oh no, sorry, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking Tony Scullion.
No.
You're right.
He wore the number 4 jersey in 1983. We'll go back to Joe.
93 or 4. Was it Kieran McKeever?
No. You're 2 cuts at it, Joe. Unfortunately not. Kevin?
Fergal McCusker.
Fergal McCusker's right. Fergal McCusker played for the Glen Club in Derry. Which Glen man played at number 15 in 1993? Free taker.
Oh, 93.
Give you. That's the end of that.
Wasn't Bateson?
That's the end of that.
Oh, Ender Gormley.
Come on, Joe. We got the first one right. We're on the road now, boy.
Damien, a former Galway manager as well.
Aye, that's right, Kevin. Right, we're moving on. Enda Gormley won how many Ulster championships with Derry?
Oh.
That includes score.
Well, you get, they all add up to.
Yes, 2.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Joe. Did you say 3? Good man. That's correct. Okay. Number 6 there. Which Tyrone club won their first? Which Tyrone club won their first championship, senior championship in 2003?
Killyclahar.
Good man, Joe. You're on a roll now, right? 3 out of 3. Right. Now listen carefully to this one. Killyclahar hurler Peter Canavan won how many Tyrone senior football championships with Ergal Kieran?
Six.
6 is correct. I don't know where you got that answer from. Who did Killyclahar beat in the 2003 final, Joe?
Ergal, was it?
Good man. That's 5 in a row, Joe. Move to number 9. Name the 2 players on the Dublin panel who have 6 All-Ireland medals and played at number 6. So 2 players who have 6 All-Ireland medals and played at number 6 on the All-Ireland team.
Was it O'Sullivan?
Yeah, that's one of them.
And Philly McMahon.
I'll give you O'Sullivan. That gives you to him. Kevin, you can pick up the other one.
James McCarthy.
James McCarthy's right. Yeah. The final question, Joe, and this is always the hardest one of the night. Joe, in alphabetical order, name the 3 Tyrone players to score goals against Dublin in 2008 championship. Are you writing this one?
He's Googling
it. Sean Kavanagh, Davy Hart, and Justy McMahon.
Oh, Jesus.
Nearly. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Joe. 6 out of 10. You're equal with Niall Morgan, but question marks over some of those answers now, to be honest with you.
Listen, Joe, thank you very much for taking the time. We get you back on another night. Very, very enjoyable, very informative. Wish you well with Fermanagh and wish you well back when you get back to the club stuff as well. God, and unlike Kevin, I just don't think that the season is going to just be turn around as quickly as he reckons, but we'll see how that goes. Just to let you know, folks, that next or Thursday night coming with John Michael Home, man you know well, Joe. Johnny Michael Home is on with us, and with Kiva Corner on singing too on the night, and we have then on next Monday night, we're a wee bit of a change. We have Sean Herson, Galway man.
Company, look.
As a foreign young fella. We have Sean Herson on with us next week, and we look forward to that. So we'll be chatting about referees' preparation and the challenges that they face and so on. and we'll look forward to that one. But on behalf of TTM, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Great to have Joe with us, and we look forward to having him on again later in the year. So, see you Thursday night, folks. So, take care and all the best.